We're on. Is this working up here or not? Okay, all right. Nice done. Okay, welcome everyone to our council meeting today. Anyone that may be watching out there, welcome to you all. Hindmarsh Shire Council acknowledges this meeting is being held on the lands of the Watchabolik, Jardwa, Jawa, Jali, Wirragai and Dwakawalk nations, and we acknowledge them as traditional owners of country. We recognise the important ongoing role that Indigenous people have in our community and pay our respects to the elders past and present. This meeting is being broadcast on the internet and the recording of the meeting will be published on Council's YouTube channel and linked to Council's website. As a visitor in the public gallery, you may be filmed. By remaining in the public gallery, you consent to being filmed and for the recording of you to be made publicly available by Council. A copy of Council's live streaming and recording of Council meetings policy is available at the back of this room and at Council's website. Please speak with one of our staff members if you have any questions. I'll now hand over to Councillor Clark, who is going to read out our statement of values. Thank you, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. Probably the first day or highlights today's 1st April Fool's Day.
Oh yeah, forgot all about that.
Yeah, so
that was this morning.
Yes, our statement of values is our commitment is to come prepared to every meeting, fostering a respectful and inclusive environment where accountability and approachability are at the core of our actions. We value and encourage innovation, collaboration and open communication, always keeping in mind the well-being and needs of our community. Together, we stand united as one, working towards shared goals with mutual respect and consideration.
Thank you. Item 2, apologies. We have an apology from Director of Corporate and Community Services, Petra Crute, and Councillor Aiken, who is going to be a little bit late for the meeting.
Yes.
No other apologies. Declarations of interest. Anyone in the room have any general or material conflict of interest in any item on the agenda?
Mayor, I will declare a material conflict of interest in item 15.2 as it relates to my employment.
Thank you. Any other declarations? No, if not, I'll move on to item 4, confirmation of minutes. And we have a recommendation. Councillor Floyd, thank you.
I'd like to move that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on Wednesday, the 4th of March 2026 at the Nil Council Chamber 92 Nelson Street, Nil, circulated to councillors, be taken as read and confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Park, seconded. All in favour? Against, motion carried. Thank you. Item 4.2, business arriving from previous minutes. Nothing there. Item 5, public question and submission time.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 2 questions today. Our first question is from Sasha McRae of Rainbow. Given that an unmarked undercover council vehicle recently parked outside my home, with the driver lingering and looking into my residence, causing me significant fear and distress, what is Hindmarsh Shire Council's policy on the use of unmarked vehicles and undercover inspections in residential areas, particularly regarding the safety and wellbeing of women? And will Council commit to using clearly marked vehicles and requiring officers to identify themselves when attending residential properties? I'll hand over to Council's Director of Infrastructure to respond.
Thank you. The response goes as follows. A council building inspector attended the vicinity of your property to observe a potential building compliance matter. The inspection was conducted from the road reserve only, and at no time did the officer enter your property. Council officers, including building inspectors, are authorised under Buildings Act 1993 to carry out the compliance observation from public land without prior notice or without requirement to identify themselves when they are not entering the private property. This type of inspection is normal part of council's statutory responsibilities and is not considered covert surveillance. Council does not undertake surveillance of individual properties, nor does it conduct undercover activities unrelated to its legislative function. In this instance, the building inspector was performing routine compliance duties as permitted under the Act. If you have concerns about your personal safety or observe any behaviour you consider suspicious, or you should contact the local police station or dial 000 in an emergency.
Our second question is from Chris Vincent from Rainbow. What specific actions is Hindmarsh Shire Council taking to address ongoing illegal use of Rainbow's residential rear access lanes by oversized farm vehicles, including A, investigation and enforcement of breaches? Please provide investigation numbers and prosecution outcomes for the past 3 years. And B, engineering, signage and access control measures to protect easements and improve safety near the kindergarten and adjoining local roads. I'll hand over to Council's Director of Infrastructure to respond.
Thank you. Council responds to enforcement matters in accordance with its statutory obligation under the Hindmarsh Shire Council Municipal Local Law 2021. All enforcement activities, including complaints received, investigations undertaken, assessments of evidence, and any actions taken are confidential and are not publicly disclosed. This means Council cannot release investigation numbers and details of inquiries or any prosecution outcomes. And regarding the movement of agricultural vehicles within the Rainbow's rear access lanes, both the Road Safety Act 1986 and Municipal Local Law relate elements regarding vehicle use, including safe operation and road accessibility. The local law contains provisions relating to obstruction or endangerment of road users, which prohibit operating a vehicle in a way that obstructs, hinders, endangers, or alarms other road users or pedestrians. Stopping heavy or long vehicle in residential road for more than 1 hour unless authorised. However, neither the local law nor the Road Safety Act automatically renders the movement of agricultural equipments in the rear access lane illegal solely on the basis of the vehicle's size or type. Agricultural machinery may lawfully use the road and access the lanes provided it operated safely and in compliance with the applicable regulation. For any use to be illegal, to be legally declared an offence, it must satisfy 2 requirements. Evidence of breach must be established through the enforcement process, and only the court can make a formal determination that the offence has occurred if an infringement is contested. At this time, no court determination exists declaring the use of agricultural vehicles in the laneways to be unlawful, and no breach has been proven through Council's enforcement process. Council continues to maintain signage in the area and has collaborated with Department of Transport and Planning to reduce the speed limit in Taverner Street to 50 kilometres per hour to improve the safety near kindergarten. Council will consider further engineering or access control measures if new evidence, safety assessment, or community reports indicate that additional intervention is required. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, activity reports. Councillor Aitken and I attended the Adelaide Caravan and Camping Show and got a very good reception from a lot of varied people across the 2 days we were there, and I think it was very productive. Met up with a lovely gentleman that does TV shows and very keen to come to our area and promote the area. So that was a really good event to be involved with. Also went to the International Women's Day Fiesta in Japarat, which was fairly well attended, and unfortunately the wind got up a little bit and started blowing some of the market people's infrastructure around a bit, but other than that, it was a great turnout. And I don't know that there's the farmer consultations that I attended. The one in Dimbulla was very well attended, really good outcomes, as was Japarrat. So it's always good to have the farmers come to our consultations and give input. We cannot make decisions without some of that input. Or it's difficult to make decisions on some things. So their input's always been very, very valuable. So I think that's all I have. So I'll hand over to Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, on my activity report, I'd also reflect, Mayor, with attending the Broughton Farmers consultation. It was good to see a dynamic amount of farmers from the area wanting to express and engage in council to let us know what they were seeing. And I think that experience of the CEO organising those farmers consultations is well received generally in the community. I would also attended, amongst other things, the Audit and Risk Committee, which is something the community may not be aware of that happens behind the scenes for council. It means that we're sort of audited and we're kept an eye on by external services to ensure that all the governance and procedures are undertaken in an appropriate manner. And it's a very interesting process, which we also have young Rob Gersh, who was previously on the council, involved, as well as our councillor Chan Oi. So it's a amongst others, it's a very interesting committee to be on that oversees what we do here financially and process wise. Also attended the youth council at Japarrat Library, and we've got a really vivacious young group of councillors who are enjoying the process of organising the different events. And they're quite fired up, and it's good to see they're having a go at being chairperson, similar to being a mayor for each meeting, and they're enjoying. It seems that they're really enjoying the processes that Nandersan is working with them on. We also had a briefing where we had the Settlement Council of Australia come and talk to us about how we have had the Karen people come and stay here. We had John and Margaret Millington talk about how that process went. I thought that was extremely interesting. It just shows, and that Canberra or government is watching what happens, and they reflected about the high level of retention of our Karen people staying here, which shows that we must be doing something right. So they were interested to come and see what was motivating and what was working well. And of course, that's our schools and community that have done so much work. And then at the same time, we had the shared table Regional Heroes, which starred our councillor Chan Oi in it. And that we went to Melbourne to see it, but it was lovely to see it being shown here in Nil. And Chan and I were there for that, and it was good to see the community come out to see what that was all about. Really interesting documentary about how people come to settle generally. Yeah, that's just a couple of the things that I did in the past month.
Thank you, Councillor Barker. Councillor Aiken's not here. I'll hold that over.
I'll just add a quick read, if I may, of Councillor Aiken's submission. I've been working with him a lot in the last month, and I think he's well and truly undersold what's in this list of what he's been doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, just point that out.
Well, having said that, I thought I should comment on the Big Sites Tyre Festival, because Councillor Barker obviously documented that in her report as well, because I know she was there and I was also there and didn't document it, and that was a great day also, and great music and a really good turn up of crowd, and some people did complain it was not a lot of shade there, but it was quite a warm day. So other than the shade sort of thing, I think everyone was really impressed with that. So I thought I should add that in. All right, so Councillor Barry, thank you.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot, never do. I went to a couple of farmers meetings as well as the briefings and all that sort of stuff. And with the farmers meetings, it'd be good to see if we could get some communication to get more to come. I know there was a few here, but yeah, and like Rosie said, shared table and all that sort of stuff. That was really good documentary too. And footy season's back now. I know the last couple of weeks, Neil and Dimbula have had a couple of practice matches against each other, which has been really good.
Right, thank you, that's it. All right, councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, look, in amongst my full-time work, I've been trying to fit in what I can and where I can. Went to a Wimmera Pioneer Museum meeting on the 17th of March, and yeah, certainly was interesting. And I think one thing out of that was they were having a bit of an issue with their ride-on mower battery always going flat. So being a good gentleman I asked my wife next time she was in Horsham to buy him a solar power charger. So I bought him that and gave him that. So hopefully that'll solve one little issue out. There's a couple others there that I think we've worked through. Yeah, other than that, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Oy.
I guess the highlighting theme for me last month was the fact that Maria Demopoulos, the CEO, Settlement Council of Australia, attending a meeting in Neil, just to emphasise how Neil has a great success story about the Korean community. I think it's got Canberra's attention in terms of the town has successfully 78% retained the number of migrants in this town, which is apparently, according to her, it's a big achievement. And she came here wanting to know why or how that was achieved. And then, of course, on top of that, complemented with the documentary in the same month, which also emphasises the success story of the Korean community here. And then following from that, I heard a rumour that Rick Stein is also looking forward to coming to film in here in Neil again, and once again highlighting the success story of the Korean community. So it's a big, strong point, I think, for the community. I think something to be proud of, because it's getting noticed. So so I'm quite pleased to be a part of that story, to see it acknowledged. So thank you.
Hold on. Thank you. Mrs. Rebel, CEO, have you got anything you want
Have to
Comment
take
on?
this regular answer.
to take it as read? All right, sorry, yes.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I would like to reflect that the activity report that our CEO, Ms. Monica Ravel, does put forward, and we can see, and the public can see, there is numerous activities that she engages with, helping to keep our towns vibrant and financially sustainable. And it's the small things to the big things. On here, there's a meeting with Grampians Wimmera Mallee tourism meeting, and then the Riverside Holiday Park, talking to the team here in Dimbula about creating a native garden establishment. It's just a small thing, but it's a big thing that makes a difference to the beautification of our townships and for tourists that are visiting. And also went to a meeting for the Australian Rail Track corporate meeting in regard to the Maroona to Portland Railworks. This goes from the tiny to the really big, important, big picture things. And this is just want to ensure that we don't dismiss the work that is covered here in just the meetings that you've attended. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Just one question for those that attended the Share Table documentary. Unfortunately, I missed it. Would have loved to have been there. Is there any way of accessing that as a member of the public to be able to view at this stage?
Unfortunately, it's gone forward to a number of festivals, including the Cairns Festival. So it's unable to be shown publicly until that's
the Cairns International.
That is true. And
so it's huge.
Fantastic. It has a potential. It was shown again in Horsham recently as well, which my husband and family and Councillor Oy attended, and there were a good turnout there as well. So it's an interesting documentary that talks to the various refugees or asylum seekers that have come to our country from in various areas, but our town and Councillor Oy really stood out as taking up quite a bit of that attention. So it was really felt like it was a lot about us.
Yeah.
I think the director is open to creating another event to show it by incorporating food. because of our food. So watch this space.
Yeah,
Thank you.
one day it'll be on TV.
Yeah.
Oh, look, certainly I'd love to access it and see it. I really regret not being able to.
No, that's
Hmm.
great.
Right, item 7, correspondence. And a recommendation. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I move the motion that council notes the attached correspondence.
Thank you, and a seconder. Councillor Barry. No one's opposing the motion. If not, I'll put the motion. All in favour. Against, the motion is carried. Thank you. Item 8, assembly of councillor records and recommendation. Councillor Hawley.
I'd like to move that council notes the assembly of councillor records as presented.
Thank you, and a seconder. Councillor Clark. No one wants to speak against the motion. If not, put the motion. All in favour. Against, motion's carried. Thank you. Item 9, planning permits, and there aren't any. Item 10, reports requiring a decision. 10.1, funding for industrial land investment attraction prospectus. This report seeks council approval for the allocation of $40,000 excluding GST in the 2025-2026 financial year to produce an investment attraction prospectus promoting private investment in the development of priority sites identified in the recently completed industrial landscaping and implementation report. An investment attraction prospectus is a concise, evidence-based marketing and information document that presents Hindmarsh Shire's investment opportunities, competitive advantages, and enabling conditions to private investors. The Industrial Landscaping and Implementation Report was commissioned by Council in August 2025 and provides an overview of considerations and opportunities for the establishment of industrial estates across 3 sites within Hindmarsh Shire, in Dimboola, Rainbow and Nil. The report is noted as confidential attachment as some of the land identified is currently privately owned, and disclosure of these sites may impact future commercial negotiations. The investment attraction prospectus translates technical planning work contained in this report into an investor-ready proposition, moving council from planning to delivery. It enables council to effectively promote identified industrial opportunities, reduce investor uncertainty and facilitate investment aligned with the intended land use outcomes. Are there any questions from councillors? Councillor Barker.
Thanks, Mayor. As a councillor, I'm aware that we had a briefing in regard to potential industrial land and investments. And we already did pay some money for a consultant to do that work. So can this question to our economic development officer is in the room, Mark Fletcher. Can you explain what this particular $40,000, how that would be invested, and is it looking across all 3 sites, and how will potential investors be found and targeted?
Thank you, Councillor Barker. So with the funding that we're looking at allocating through this motion, what we're looking at doing is the next steps, looking at developing an investment prospectus that we can then go to market. Further work through the business case on the sites, but also look at how we actually engage and attract with developers and attract those investors looking at developing those sites. Initially in this stage, it would be the Dimboola and the Nil sites would be the 2 priority sites. So looking at how we can flex that a little bit, leverage the work that we've already done in the study that is on the table at the moment. And I guess from a activity point of view in the region at the moment, we have got so many things happening just down the road from us. We've got Farm Fritz in Horsham with a massive investment. We've got renewable projects, mining projects. How do we actually, as a shire, how do we get ourselves ready to make the most of that, build on some of those opportunities, work towards tapping into some of those, and I guess expanding our industrial and business base to to recoup some additional rate revenue, but also increase the sustainability of some of our communities as well.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay, are there any further questions? If not, there is a recommendation.
Yes,
Councillor Barker.
thank you. It's my, I move that the council, one, approves the allocation of the $40,000 excluding GST to develop an investment attraction prospectus to promote priority industrial land opportunities identified in the industrial land scoping and implementation report. And two, authorises officers to undertake the necessary procurement and engagement to deliver the prospectus.
Thank you, Councillor Barker. Is there a seconder? Councillor Barry. Thank you. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Barker?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I think it's really exciting that we're looking big picture, that we're looking at industrial sites, we're looking at how we can increase business ventures in our region. And I'm hopeful that we're looking in other areas for economic development as well into the future as well, which has been reflected and discussed in briefings too. But I think industry first, and we bring those businesses, and I'm really looking forward to this is a major step towards making that happen, having that prospectus and attracting developers and businesses to consider coming here, because we are perfectly placed here on the Western Highway. Thank you.
Councillor Barry.
Virtually the same as Rosie, but with business brings money, and the way the government's handing out money, we need to find our own, and I think this is a good opportunity.
And not only that, but it's not only investment in industrial land, they've got to live somewhere as well.
It'll bring everything. It'll bring people to go to the milk bar for lunch. It'll bring people to go to the, actually we won't say fuel to buy fuel, but not today.
Join the squad.
We need it. We've got 5,500 people in this shire. We need to have 10,500.
Yes.
All right, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? The motion's carried. Thank you. Item 10, thank you, Mark, for your input. Item 10.2, intention to enter into a lease at Rainbow Recreation Reserve. This report seeks approval to advertise council's intention to enter into a new lease with Ambulance Victoria for a section of the Rainbow Recreation Reserve for a term of 21 years. Approval is also sought to authorise the CEO to negotiate and execute the lease should no objections be received. Is there any questions from anyone around the table? Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Mayor Ismay. My question is to the Director of Infrastructure Services, Ram Oppenday, is the ambulance that is located at the Rainbow Recreation Reserve, does that have paramedic, and what essential service, apart from obviously being an ambulance, does this service actually provide to that region?
I'm happy to answer that question. So there is an ambulance stationed in Rainbow at present, and Rainbow is serviced by ambulance community officers. So they are volunteer community members who've undertaken necessary training, and in certain situations when somebody calls 000, the call taker will be able to triage, and depending on the severity of the call, they may send the first responders in Rainbow until a paramedic can come from another town.
Right. Thank you. So at the moment, they would send to a higher level ambulance from another town, say Dambulla or Nil or Horsham, depending on what the emergency is. So the ambulance that's located at Rainbow has those community first aid workers who can deal with the most common or low level triage.
Yeah, so there's no, as far as we're aware, there's no change to the service level. It's just about council entering into the lease to enable that ambulance to continue to be stationed in Rainbow.
And will that particular facility where the ambulance is housed, because we're talking about $1 a year, are they taking care of the maintenance and other things that may come up for that building?
Yes, so the lease agreement, as with all lease agreements that council has, specifies the requirement of the lessee and the requirement of council.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Barker.
Yeah, look, I'm very aware of this ambulance being there and their roles. Certainly feel that I think that they do an absolute magnificent job. My question is simply that how long has this lease been in place roughly prior to us today discussing it?
Good question. So there's been a number of leases over the years.
Would we be saying 10 years or more?
It would have been longer than 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Station's been there since Jim Sleep was involved in getting the ambulance there at the beginning, and I think that I can't think how long that station's been there, an awful long time. We'd have to go back into the late 70s
Would
at
it be
least.
fair to say, Mayor, that it was involved in the first man's trip to the moon with Neil Armstrong and was involved in that?
Pretty close, probably the day after, I think.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Look, Mayor, I'm more than happy to move station with this.
Yeah,
Look, I move a motion that council officers begin community consultation. Sorry, I'm just checking. Yeah, for the period of 2 weeks from 3rd of April 2026 to 17th of April 2026 for the proposed lease with Ambulance Victoria for the Rainbow Ambulance Station located within the Rainbow Recreation Reserve. And 2, the CEO negotiate and execute the lease agreement if no objections are received.
thank you. And second that, councillor Barry. No one's opposing the motion. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Oh, look, I just, like I said, I have a lot of involvement. My only disappointment really is Ambulance Victoria struggle to find ambulance community officers in Rainbow. But certainly I think they need to be there. It's an absolute must.
Thank you. Councillor Barry. Any further? All right, put the motion, all in favour? Against, the motion's carried. Thank you. Item 10.3, speed reduction in Dimboola Rainbow Road near Rainbow Lake. This report seeks council endorsement to submit an application to the Department of Transport and Planning to review and reduce the existing 100-kilometre speed limit on Dimboola Rainbow Road in the vicinity of the Rainbow Lake precinct to 80 kilometres an hour. Reducing vehicle speed adjacent to the lake is expected to improve safety outcomes, encourage greater community use of the precinct, and better align the road environment with the function of a township recreational asset. Are there any questions?
Yep.
Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Mayor Ismay. This seems like a very sensible safety change to this region, although I do not live near the Rainbow Lake so I do wonder, do we normally put out changes in speeds to community consultation? If I direct this question to our Director of Infrastructure Services, Ram, up and there.
Yep. So it's a safety requirement. So, you go to community, we generally don't consult with the community. We go with the council resolution. If there is likely chances that community might object, then we might think of going into the community. But it depends on the case-by-case basis. But this is pretty straightforward safety improvement, which was recommended by the community, and some of the Rainbow-based councillors might attest to the request, because they've mentioned they've received several other requests as well from the other members of the community.
Thank you.
Councillor Clark.
Yeah, look, again, being very aware of this. Look, it's a bit of an open bit of road there, but it's very heavily used by very large vehicles. I've seen up to 300-400 a day of large vehicles travelling past this site. It is a bit open there, but it's offset by the fact that the Dimboola Rainbow Road's controlled by the Department of Transport and Planning, Vic Roads, and the jump up from the gravel surface onto the bitumen suddenly this high. So you're really travelling out slowly onto that road. So my question is, this is, if I may, to the Director of Infrastructure, this is actually approving a application to Vic Roads or Department of Transport to change this speed limit?
No,
This is
this is us making an application to
Yeah.
Department of Transport to request them to consider and reduce their speed to 40 kilometres. So, 80 kilometres. So this will be extending the current 80 kilometres zone to another 700 metres towards the south.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
No further questions? We have a recommendation. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. I feel it being a Northward Shire, it's probably appropriate that I move the motion that council authorises council officers to submit a speed reduction application to the Department of Transport and Planning for Dimboola Rainbow Road in the vicinity of the Rainbow Lake Precinct to extend existing 80 km/h speed zone further 700 metres further south.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hoy. Okay, nothing, no one wants to speak against the motion. If not, would you like to speak to the motion?
Oh, no, I think I've already stated. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Hoy.
Safety issue for the lake. I think the lake's a great experience and stuff. So, hopefully reducing will make it safer for people to access it. Thank you.
Okay, nothing further. All in favour? Against? Motion's carried. Thank you. Item 10.4, Japarut Weir feasibility study. This report provides council with an update on the current work being undertaken to position council strongly for future grants to replace the Japarut Weir. The replacement of the Japarut Weir is a high priority for council, with council advocating to both state and federal government for funding to replace the structure. The estimated cost for replacement is $5.4 million. Something council cannot fund from within the current budget. As a first step towards the replacement, council received funding from Wimmera Catchment Management Authority to complete a feasibility study to assess the condition, risks and future options for the Japarut Weir on the Wimmera River. The study confirms that existing weir is very poor condition, presents unacceptable safety risks to council staff, and if left unoperated or allowed to fail, has the potential to increase flood impacts within the Japarut township. The feasibility study identifies the refurbishment of the existing structure is not viable and that full replacement of the weir represents the most appropriate long-term solution. The study also outlines the social, environmental and economic value of the Japarut weir pool, with an estimated annual benefit of approximately $386,000 to the community. The feasibility study will be used to support future funding applications to state and Commonwealth governments and to guide subsequent design and approval processes. Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Mayor Ismay. I do have several questions. I'll just start with two. And I do think this Japarut Weir is a very worthy project for us to be looking at and advocating for. I've had a number of people in my ward talk to me about how much they enjoy going up there to do some fishing because it's very close. They can throw the caravan on the back of their ute, so to speak, and go up there and spend the weekend there and come home. They have felt concerned because of the amount of repair that they're seeing is needing to happen there. So my question is directed to the Director of Infrastructure and Services. Why is the repair not possible? Perhaps if you could speak to that. And what are the perceived consequences of not replacing the weir?
Thank you. So the assessment undertaken by a structural engineer shows that the asset is basically at the end of its useful life. We have been doing the routine maintenance to keep it going as long as possible. But, when it's at the end of the life, unless you make a massive amount of investment, there is not a lot of significant extension of life you can gain with the routine maintenance. So routine maintenance is just to keep the water stagnant in there. So we can be patching here and there. But at the end of the day, the structure is at the end of its life. The impact of not replacing the weir. So The weir, there might be a few consequences. One, the weir might get washed away. The report says, the weir pool has the benefit of, $386,000 per year to the community. So that's the impact if it gets washed away. The other impact is the weir boards might be difficult to remove when there's a high flow. And it might be it's a safety concern for the staff to go in there during the times of high flow. And if we can't remove the weir boards when the peak flood comes in, the projection is that it will impact four additional properties than what it will currently do with the operational weir. So impact on 4 additional properties with flooding. And 10 properties that already get flooding will have additional 10 centimeters above their, current levels. So that's the impact. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you. My last question is, if we accept the findings of the feasibility, which seemed really quite comprehensive and went through the fact that it was a weir that was built in the early 1900s, so it's like 120 years old or something.
124.
Right. So, and we accept the findings of that feasibility report, and will we be able to use that report to as a support for grant applications? And if so, where do we have in mind potential grants, or as state or federal, or do we have any idea at all at this point of when and where we could use that?
Thank you. So the whole intention of this feasibility study is to support our future funding application. So the first step is we have assessed the structure and done all the projections and the impacts and everything. The next step would be to liaise with different funding bodies. We've been talking with CMA and DECA to see if we can source some sort of design funding, make it shovel ready, get it designed, get it costed and everything, so that when there's a funding opportunity arising, we can be ready for the funding application. We have not seen any funding opportunity arising at the moment. This is a significant cost. The council will struggle even if we have to put 20% of the funding, on-source funding, towards this project, $5.4 million. So we would have to find something that contributes 100% of the funding, and we've been continuously in discussion with various state and federal bodies.
Thank you.
Councillor Clark.
Oh, Councillor Hoyle was ahead of me.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Just a question for CEO Monica Revel. How did Hindmarsh Shire come to be responsible for the weir?
Yes, good question. Cost shifting. No. Following the 2011 floods, where there were significant issues at both Jeparit and Dimboola, the Dimboola weir was not going to be replaced. And so council took ownership of Dimboola and Jeparit weirs so that we could ensure that the Dimboola weir was replaced. And now we're in the situation where we need to replace the Jeparit weir.
Councillor Clark.
And Mayor, question, I'm not sure which one will answer the best. Obviously, as our CEO has just indicated how we've become responsible for the Jeparit weir, being on the Wimmera River, what other authorities or groups are involved with any decision relating to the Jeparit weir? For example, is like Wimmera Malik Water involved? You mentioned DECA. How many other sort of groups roughly are involved in this that we need to be working with to try and get this job done?
Start and Monica can add. So council, well, because it's our asset, so we've got the responsibility to maintain it, and any protection of any flooding, I guess. CMA has same sort of responsibility in that space because they're the waterway managers. We will obviously have to work with, if we get the funding, we'll obviously have to work with BGLC because it will have the cultural sensitivity in the river. DECA will be interested because the banks will be DECA land, and any of the federal body who's funding the project, I guess.
So it's like,
A state or federal body.
so what we're saying is it's not just an easy thing with the Shire, it's a very complex thing involving a lot of other groups and yeah, thank you.
Any further questions? If not, there is a recommendation.
Thank you.
Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Mayor Ismay. I'd like to move that council notes the Chuparat Weir feasibility study report.
Thank you. And a second, councillor Barry. No one wants to speak against the motion. Would you like to speak for the motion?
Yes, thank you.
Barker.
Thank you, Mayor Ismay. You know, we've been advocating for the repair to this Chuparat Weir since I started on council. So just so the community knows that this is the first time we've got to the feasibility study part, which was luckily financed by the Wormerick Catchment Management Authority, because otherwise we would still be struggling to find out exactly how bad it is. But we have spoken to state and federal politicians and trying to advocate for this repair, and we will continue because it is an important community asset for our area, for our Shire.
Thank you, councillor Barry.
Well, this Saturday is probably Chuparat's major event, and without the weir, it wouldn't be there. What is it, the fishing competition? How many people does that draw this weekend?
I think last year there was nearly 400 registered. So then, of course, they'd have family, friends and that as well. So they might have 2 registered in their group, but there might be 5 or 10 of them with that one group. So we're looking at potentially a couple of thousand people there.
Right.
And everyone goes there camping for Easter weekend, and it's only because of the weir.
They're camping there, they're spending money in the town, spending money locally, travelling locally, huge attraction.
It's a great ski spot as well. Yeah, got some huge potential, as you may all see tomorrow. Okay, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Motion's carried. Thank you. Item 10.5, policy updates. This report presents 3 draft policies to council for endorsement to be presented for a period of community engagement from the Thursday, the 2nd of April 2026, 5 p.m. on Wednesday, the 22nd of April 2026. The policies being reviewed are as follows. The public interest disclosure policy, which outlines how council will handle reports of wrongdoing. This policy has been updated with minor administrative changes in line with its review cycle. The fraud prevention policy and plan, which details how fraud will be prevented, detected and responded to within Hindmarsh Shire Council. This policy has been reviewed in line with its review cycle, with the notable change being the inclusion of evidentiary requirements for supported study. The procurement policy, which has been reviewed to include additional oversight of related parties' procurement alongside other amendments that clarify the application of certain procurement processes. These policies have been presented and endorsed by the Audit and Risk Committee on the 11th of March 2026. The policies will be presented to Council for adoption on the 6th of May 2026. Alongside feedback received and a discussion of any changes made because of that feedback. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Mayor Ismay. I do have a couple of questions, and these are for in the absence of our Director of Corporate and Community Services being unable to attend today. I ask our CEO, Ms. Ravel, how are these policies, there's 2 questions. So how are these policy changes implemented and enforced? And are these changes the result of actual issues discovered or proactive measures? Thank you.
We do have joining us today also our Manager of People and Performance. So I'm happy, Janelle, would you like to answer the questions and I can?
Sure. First one, you're up.
Sorry, would you like to repeat the question?
Sure. How are these policy changes implemented and enforced? This is the first one.
So whenever we have policy changes, we always communicate them with staff through our staff meetings, and they're discussed at all the different group meetings as well, and communicated via email, and copies of policies are distributed. As far as enforcement of policy goes, it's the same as any policy is enforced as we go along, as the changes don't change the way that we ensure they're complied with.
So the managers of the different departments would ensure that these policies were adhered to by other staff. Are these changes a result of actual issues discovered or proactive measures?
Mainly proactive measures. All of our policies are on a review cycle, so we review them as they come due for review, unless there's some change in legislation or something, which leads us to review them more frequently or before their review cycle. With the procurement policy, the changes that are suggested with that one have come about more after we had a really thorough review of that policy late last year, and then after working with that within that policy, we discovered there were some things that we could do better if we made some changes to that policy. So there were one of the changes that is suggested for that policy is to remove the requirement to have a purchase order entered for every purchase that's under $100. It's just operationally, it's not efficient or effective to be looking at a purchase order every time there's a carton of milk required for a meeting, or just for staff use, or the newspapers. Every week the newspapers are collected from the supermarket. It's just logistically, it's not worth the time to implement a purchase order for each of those individual minor purchases.
Right.
We also have, on a regular basis, Janelle will send around to staff a weekly governance email, and within that email will be one policy. So she might be talking about conflict of interest. She'll talk about the procurement policy and really enforce any changes or anything that we may be seeing that we want staff to be aware of or to consider as part of their roles.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, are there any further questions? Welcome to our meeting, Councillor Aitken.
Thank you.
Okay, there is a recommendation.
Thank you.
Councillor Barker.
I'd like to move that council endorses the following policies for a period of community engagement from 2nd of April, 3rd of April to the 22nd of April, 2026. Firstly, the draft public interest disclosure policy. Secondly, the draft fraud prevention policy and plan. And thirdly, the draft procurement policy.
Councillor Barker, is there a seconder? Councillor Clark. No one wants to speak against the motion. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Ismay. These are one of the things that come up in our audit and risk committee meetings, and they're reviewed by, a number of professionals and discussed there as well. So it's really great. Thank you so much for coming. It's really, they may seem like tick and flicks that we're going through this cycle of reviewing policies, but they are an important part of making sure that what is happening behind the scenes is controlled or overlooked. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think, look, a lot of these policies obviously just get reviewed because wording changes, state and federal government acts and et cetera pushed down to us. So, yeah, they just get changed as a regular thing, as a requirement, I feel.
Yeah. Righto. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against, the motion's carried. Thank you. Item 11, council committees. 11.1, audit and risk committee. So we've got 4 items there and a recommendation.
Okay. Fine. I will move that that Council 1 notes the minutes for the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 11th of March 2026. Notes that Ashley Roberts as the chairperson for the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 11th of March 2026, and that the chairperson for the remainder of 2026 will be elected at the June Audit and Risk Committee meeting. 3, accepts the chairperson's report for the 2025 calendar year and notes the considerable achievements of the committee. And 4, adopts the strategic 3-year audit plan. And 5, notes the resignation of Simon Coots from the Audit and Risk Committee.
Thank you, councillor Barker. Is there a second? Councillor Aiken. No one wants to speak against the motion? If not, would you like to speak to the motion, councillor? Right.
Thank you, Mayor Ismay. It is quite disappointing, but somewhat foreseeable that Simon Coots has become very busy with his own business, and it's sad to see him move on, but very grateful that other people are still involved, especially Ashley Roberts, who runs a really tight meeting. Thank you.
Okay, councillor Aiken. Okay, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against, the motion carries. Thank you. Item 11.2, advisory committees. So we have 6 committees there and a recommendation.
I can move the motion.
Thank you.
I'd like to move that Council 1 notes the minutes of the following advisory committees: A, the Neil Township meeting held on the 3rd of March 26. B, Hindmarsh Pride meeting held on 4th March 26. C, Parrot Township meeting held on 9th of March 26. And Part 2, the financial statements for the month of February 2026 for the following advisory committees: Parrot Township, Neil Township, and Rainbow Township.
Thank you, councillor Lloyd. Is there a seconder? Councillor Clark. No one else to speak against the motion. If not, councillor Lloyd, would you like to speak to the motion?
Once again, just thanking the volunteers for attending all these meetings and make it happen. Yep.
Very important.
Thanks.
Very important. Councillor Clark.
I think at the Parrot Township Committee, there was quite an excellent executive representation from the council there at that meeting. I think we were nearly all there. But no, fantastic to see what they do, and yeah, it's just brilliant.
All right. There's no one wants to speak further or question councillor Clark's abilities at the meetings? If not, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against, motion carried. Thank you. Item 11.3, community asset committees, and we have 5 and a recommendation. Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I moved the motion that council notes the minutes of the following community asset committees, being the Wimmera Mallee Pioneer Museum meetings held on the 16th of December 2025 and 17th of February 2026. Also, the Urunga Homestead meetings held on 22nd January 2026 and the 26th of February 2026, and the Rainbow Civic Centre meeting held on the 27th of February 2026.
Thank you. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Aiken. No one wants to speak against the motion? If not, would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Clark?
Mayor, just simply saying that, like I said, I attended at Wimmera Mallee Pioneer Museum there on the 17th of February. The Urunga Homestead Committee, I try and attend, and I just apologise to that committee for missing the last meeting. My full-time employment got in the way. And the Rainbow Civic Centre Committee, I'm aware of, certainly started ramping up and getting involved and actioning things. So,
yeah. You don't want to make any comment about the quality of the executive representation?
we're at there, Mayor.
All these meetings.
Well, there was some great representation. I think Councillor Aiken and myself were there, and I think I saw some others, yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Aiken, you like to speak? No. Okay. Nothing further. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against, motion's carried. Thank you. Item 12, late reports. 12.1 RFQ 2025-2026 14 supply of cold mix to HSC. This report seeks approval from council to continue utilising RFQ 2025-2026-25 to procure cold mix for use in repair of sealed roads. Spend under this contract is anticipated to exceed the CEO's delegation. Are there any questions? All right. If not, there is a recommendation.
I can move.
Thank you.
I'd like to move that the council authorises officers to continue using RFQ 2025-2026-14 to do cold mix for the remainder of the 2025-26 financial year.
Thank you. And a second? Councillor Clark? No one wants to speak against the motion. You would like to speak to the motion? No? Councillor Clark?
Oh, look, I think it's just common sense. This is in relation to our roads, which is our community's highlighted as a huge issue for us. And yeah, certainly being able to access cold mix is something that helps fill minor jobs. So I think it's very important that we continue this till the end of the financial year.
Thank you. Nothing further? Put the motion on. Sorry, councillor.
Actually, I did miss the opportunity to make a question. So
Okay, I'll take the question.
In the corner here.
Yeah, I'll take the question.
If you don't mind, to go back just for a quick.
Just said I'd take the question, so I mustn't mind.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. My question is to the Director of Infrastructure Services is that we already have you've been using this cold mix. So I'm wondering why this became if you could just explain a little bit more about how this came about, so for our community to understand why we're having to have this late report here today.
Yep. Thank you for the question. So we went out for the RFQ process to seek the prices for the coal mix, obviously. After we went through the procurement process, we were awarded a lot of edge repair works from Department of Transport, you know, and using the same contractor to purchase the coal mix for those edge repairs now has led us to the projection is that it will go beyond the CEO's delegation limit. You know, the original RFQ was approved under CEO's delegation, and that's why it was necessary for us to bring it to council's attention, the council's approval to continue.
So just further to the direct response, our usual annual spend on cold mix is about $100,000, but being awarded the significant contract for the edge repairs through the Department of Transport, we are already very close to $250,000, which is the CEO delegation, and we will exceed that in the next couple of months before the end of the financial year. So the RFQ is for a number of years. So next year, when we no longer are doing any works for the Department of Transport, we'll be back down to our usual spend of about $100,000. It's just due to that private works, I guess you could say. We will exceed our usual spend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just wanted the community to understand why we were making this late change.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, I'll put the motion all in favour. Against, motion carried. Thank you. Item 13, notice of motion, and there isn't any other business. Councillor Barry.
No other business here.
Councillor White. No. Councillor Oakley. Councillor Clark.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Barry. Sorry, Councillor Barker, sorry.
No,
That's an insult, isn't it?
definitely.
Definitely.
It is.
Unanimous.
What are you talking to? What his wife had arrived to? No, I have no other business.
Right. Okay. If there's no other business, we'll move on to item 15, confidential reports. And I have a recommendation there. I guess we shut off now.
To the recommendation.
Righto, sorry. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move the motion recommendation there that the meeting be closed in accordance with section 662A of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider reports that contain confidential information as defined by section 3 of the Local Government Act 2020 and or Part 4 of the Freedom of Information Act 1982, and following consideration of items 15.1 to 15.2, close the council meeting. One relates to an award of contract 2025-2026-25 provision of resources to extract quarry minerals or materials and associated services at council quarries. This report contains confidential or business information, being information that would prejudice the council's position in commercial negotiations if prematurely released. And the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee, this report contains personal information, being information which, if released, would result in the unreasonable disclosure of information about any person or their personal affairs.
Thank you, councillor Clark. And a seconder? Councillor Aiken. Okay, is there anyone opposed to the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against, the motion carried, and that ends the lesson. I'll close the meeting now, and thank you all those who may have watched in today on our council meeting.